Back for another Detroit Tigers player breakdown. Today, we are going to take a look at Eduardo Rodriguez, signed for a decently long contract last offseason. Plans to be around for a while, it sounds like, and had a very, not interesting, but a heck of a season this year in the Motor City. So, we're going to talk about his 2022 and talk about his future today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Friday, October 21st, 2022. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so we are going through and doing our deep dives on all of the players. Hopefully, we get through everybody on the 40-man before free agency opens. I think that's the goal. We're making really good headway. We've gone through everybody that ended the season or spent significant time on the injured list. We've gone through quite a lot of the hitters on the team, and for whatever reason, I got off to a slow start and didn't do very many pitchers early on, except for, again, the players that were on the injured list. And so yesterday we did a couple of bullpen pieces and Jose Cisnero and Joe Jimenez. We did Tyler Alexander earlier this week, I think, late last week, early this week. So we're going to stick with pitcher, and we're just going to do one today. I know the last few we've done two players in one episode, but I think this one we probably need to dedicate a whole episode just to him. So we're going to do Eduardo Rodriguez, as we said earlier. Ed had a heck of a year. He had a heck of a season, as we are all aware. And I think there were some misconceptions about Eduardo Rodriguez just in general. Nothing in his personal life. I'm not going down that rabbit hole, nor should you, nor should anybody. That's his business. But just about the type of player he is, B, the contract he got, and C, where he fits on this team going forward. I think that there was this, like I said, misconception, I think is the right word. And I think it is the phrase the word that I want to use. I think that everybody saw him get 77 over 5 and was like, oh my goodness, this is like the ace going forward. I don't think that was ever supposed to be the plan. I certainly don't think it's the plan now. Like 15 AAV is definitely like that's legit for sure. Like that's legitimate money. But I think we kind of had the same situation happen when we talk about the talent level of these players and talking about raising the bar. Like, I'm very much a broken record with that. I think it's a great point. And I think that we need to look at these players through a different lens of comparing them to the rest of the league when it comes to their talent level, not just the rest of the Tigers organization, because that has gotten us nowhere and we're still a bottom of the barrel team. I think we need to do the same thing with with contracts, I guess, is my point. I think we need to do the same thing in the sense that when you look at the aces in baseball, right, like the big money aces of playoff teams, those dudes don't have contracts that equate to $77 million. And I'm not trying to make $77 million seem like not very much money. Obviously, that is life-changing. But when comparing it to other contracts in the game of baseball, and when comparing it to aces of playoff caliber teams, it's not quite there. That's not bona fide ace money, dog. And I think that a lot of people thought when he came in, they were like, oh, he was on the Red Sox. They were a playoff team. He has had finished sixth in Cy Young voting in 2019, I believe. And, he has the biggest contract of any pitcher on this team. So therefore, he is the ace going forward. It's not quite how that works for a few reasons. One, we can go sign somebody in any other offseason for more money, and boom, then he's just not the highest paid pitcher anymore. For starters, that's the easy route. But also, baseball is weird in the sense that you have to have 6 years of control before you can become an unrestricted free agent. So Tarek Skubal, who was great in the first half of the year, I don't think anybody, especially by like the end of May, was like, oh man, like Erod is still the ace of this team. Like, no, everybody understood that. And Erod had a 4 ERA this year. Like, everybody freaked out about some of his performances and whatnot. And yes, a 4 ERA is not an ace of a good team. I agree. I don't think he was ever supposed to be. And like, Avila's gone now, so we never have to ask him that question, thank goodness. But like, I don't think that was ever the plan, and I certainly don't think it's the plan going forward. That is money for a solid 2, or even if more of your pitchers hit prospect wise, then you make him a really high end 3. But like you look at the career of Eduardo Rodriguez, you're talking about a dude who, for the most part, his ERA is either in the mid or high 3s or the low 4s from a season to season basis. 2021's weird. We'll talk about that. But I don't know. It always rubbed me the wrong way that he was looked at as the ace and everything. And like, I was excited about the signing. I still am excited about the signing. I still really like Eduardo Rodriguez, and we'll get into why in this show, obviously. But I never understood raising everybody to a higher standard with analysis does not mean you need 5 aces on your team. We just need to understand what people are. That's what this whole thing is about. Understanding what players are, not overvaluating them, not undervaluating them, just truly understanding their value and what their role is on a good team. Ed is going into next year, as it stands currently, the best pitcher in this rotation. Does that mean that this team is going to make the playoffs? Probably not, because I agree with everybody that he should not be the best player on a playoff team, at least as he's pitched so far 7 years into his career. Hope that all makes sense. But I really wanted to drive that point home because it's something that I constantly got brought up after pretty much every start he had. And I think it's a really important point to drive home. This dude can be really solid, but at no point has he ever, or probably will he ever, be looked at as the ace of a playoff team, and we are not paying him to be as such. Hope that makes sense. The bona fide aces of playoff teams that aren't getting paid huge contracts is like that because they don't have their 6 years of service yet or sign a long-term deal early on in their career. 77 mil, not a World Series ace salary. Hope that makes sense. Okay, let's get into him, the pitcher, because I think that there is I still really like it. Like I said, I still really like the move to bring him in. I still like what he brings to this team going forward. I still think he can be a really solid 2 or a 3 for this team when we're good again. Hopefully that we become good again. But I still think that he has a very prominent and important role on this team going forward. And I still like what he brings on the mound. So we're going to talk about all that right after I tell y'all about our friends over at Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for all your football betting needs and the start of the new basketball season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. As always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, everybody. Welcome back here, segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate each and every one of y'all. Hopefully, the point I was trying to get across in the first segment made sense. Um, but when talking about Erod the pitcher, like I said, still a big fan, still really like what he brings. There are, again, I think some misconceptions about. We signed him to a contract that was bigger than almost anyone else on the team. And that is because of two reasons. One, because we needed pitching, and because he is a pretty good pitcher. And B, because we were paying literally no one outside of Miguel Cabrera. So optically, it looked like we were giving this dude a cargo ship, Garrett Cole style contract, when in actuality, it's pretty spot on, I think, for what he's valued at, as far as the years leading up to his first year in Detroit. So I think that also a lot of people think, okay, he's going to be the best pitcher on the team. Can't wait to see him strike out 15 dudes a game. Haha. Well, it's not the type of pitcher he is. Never has been. Never will be. So I think that was kind of a misconception too. Now, admittedly, this season his strikeout numbers were lower than normal, and I believe the lowest since his rookie year. Nope, lower than that. There you go. Lowest K rate of his entire career. Obviously, that's not great, and you want to see that get bumped back up to what we're used to. His K per nine this season was a 7.12, 7.12, which is low. I mean, that's low, and that's low for someone making his amount of money. All very true. Low for somebody who it should even be a 2 or a 3 on a good team, or the ace on a bad team, whatever. That's all my points nullified. That is objectively low, and it needs to get higher. Now his career K per nine is 9.16, about a strikeout an inning. It's not the ridiculous 11, 12 that you're going to see in that, like the Shane McClanahans of the world and all of these strikeout and whiff artists. He is not that. He's not going to get you a ton of swings and misses. He's not going to get you a ton of strikeouts. However, when he is on, Eduardo Rodriguez is, simply put, one of the best weak contact pitchers in the game of baseball year in and year out. And he has been for the 3 years leading up to his first year in Detroit, the 3 years leading up to his contract. Well, I was going to say contract season, but including his contract season, all 3 years leading up to his first year in Detroit, leading up to this season, his average exit velocity percentiles. Okay. So he didn't pitch in 2020 due to like a really scary health concern. He got COVID and had some heart problems, and it was actually really scary. So I'm glad that he's doing okay and able to pitch and everything, because there was a while there where people were legitimately scared about Ed. So when looking back, okay, 2019 average exit velocity 96th percentile, top 5% of the league in pitcher average exit velocity. It was like in the mid 80s. Hard hit percentage 93rd percentile, top 7% in baseball, and inducing soft, weak contact. 2020, he doesn't play. We just talked about that. 2021, average exit velocity 90th percentile, hard hit percentage 87th percentile. Now, the big difference between those two seasons and this one, aside from the fact that his average exit velocity was in the 73rd percentile this year and his hard hit percentage was in the 66th percentile this year, just step backs objectively. But the strikeout numbers, again, plummeted. Whiff percentage, 4th percentile, K percentage, 21st percentile, bottom 5th of the league. Whereas in 2021, he was inducing all that soft contact. He was 51st percentile in whiff percentage and 76th in K percentage. 2019, 61st in K percentage, 64th in whiff percentage. 2021 also 70th percentile in walk percentage. So not really beating himself a ton either. Just really good at pounding the strike zone and getting soft contact. And I think that that pitcher in Comerica Park has the potential to be really, really good and put up some career years. I still stand by that. I still believe it. I don't look at whatever it was, 90, 100 innings in 2022 and just completely dismiss all the years before that. He was literally sixth in Cy Young voting in 2019. Like I don't just completely dismiss that because of one really weird year where he disappeared for 3 months. Okay, I think you get back on a routine, you get back to pitching a full season again. 2019 through 200 innings, had almost a 20-win season for whatever that's worth to you. Like this is a dude who has logged very impressive seasons. Led the league in games started in 2019, like I said, 203 innings, had a 3.81 ERA, and was sixth in Cy Young voting. K per nine was a 9.4. Again, about his career average. You're looking at about a strikeout an inning. Walk rate 3.3. Hit per nine 8.6. The whip is a 1.328 in 2019. His career whip is a 1.315. And again, you might look at that and think it's a little high. Yeah, the dude is a pitch to contact guy. He's going to give up some singles, but when he's on, all those hits are going to be weak seeing eye singles. He's not going to draw too many or induce too many walks. And he's still going to be a double play machine if a runner gets on, etc. Like this is a dude with a tremendous ability to induce soft and weak contact. And it's really a shame that this was the start of his career. And like again, I don't want to make it sound like this is a guy that I believe you can put at the number one in a rotation of a World Series winning team. But there's such a negative aura and a negative connotation around him right now that this episode is gonna sound like I'm just like really going to bat for him, and it's because I think it's such a negative viewpoint the fan base has of him right now. And maybe I'm off base on this. Maybe the fan base is totally understanding, which doesn't sound very on brand, but maybe it is. And so I think that I am just sounding like I'm really going to bat for him because I don't think that there's too much you can take out of this season. He threw 91 innings of 4 ERA ball and had career lows in swing and miss and strikeout stuff. And like least we forget, had an injury to deal with before the I'm gonna just completely fall off the face of the map, right? Like that happened too. Like he had an injury thing where his velocity was down. Like I think that he is very clearly the poster child, him and probably Austin Meadows both, for everything that could have possibly have gone wrong for the Detroit Tigers in 2022 did. Murphy's Law, right? We've talked about it. We understand it. It happened. Let's try and move on. I don't like he's this isn't going to happen every year. He's not just going to go he's not going to go missing for the bulk of the season. He's a dude that has logged 200 inning seasons. He's not going to get hurt every year. And a 4.05 ERA at the end of the day is not like some catastrophic, abysmal season. Yes, I would love to think that he's going to come in and log like those 3.7, 3.8, 3.9 ERA type of seasons that he had when he was getting Cy Young votes. Absolutely. That's my standard. That's what I want to see out of him. And if he pitched 190 innings of 4 ERA ball and had a career low in K percentage and was walking a ton of players and all that, this would be a much different conversation. But I have a really hard time, and maybe this is just a me thing. I have a really hard time analyzing and being like, oh yeah, the contract's terrible. This is terrible. This was an awful signing. Alavila is the worst thing to ever happen to this organization. And Erod is another example as to why. And he's Jordan Zimmerman 2.0, and this is a joke. That is impossible. Impossible to say any of those things after one season in which personal issues took him away for half the year. It's impossible. And I wholeheartedly stand by that. So yes, there is always a possibility with every contract you sign any free agent to that he might end up not living up to that deal. And that possibility certainly still remains with Erod. I'm not saying that's a guaranteed hit after this season either, because that's also impossible. I'm saying you can take nothing. It's like he didn't play this year. You can take nothing out of this. Okay? It's a dang. I had to censor myself there. It's a dang shame because I really like him as a pitcher. I think he's a cool dude. He did a lot of really cool stuff in Boston, and I really would love for him to go out there and just really prove why we brought him in and really utilize his situation. Because again, Fenway is a hitter's park. And it's one of the reasons that his numbers in 2021 look so inflated, right? His numbers in 2021, this is crazy to me, okay? He had a 4.74 ERA in 157 innings. You hear that, you squirm, right? You're like, "Oh my goodness, in a contract year we gave that dude 15 mil AAV." I'm sure I'll get some comments about it. Absolutely true. Objectively, that did happen. But his FIP, right? We talk about those stats that try to take out things you can't control, have some ballpark factor in them as well. FIP, XFIP, Sierra, ballpark factor, looking at how hard the ball is hit, how much BABIP, bad luck he had. BABIP is usually around 300, but the last couple of years for baseball, Major League Baseball, it's been about 290. So you look at all of those factors and all those external factors that you can't control. We've had prospects in the Tigers organization on this show, pitching prospects, come on here and tell me and tell the world that the lower level of the minors, the development people within the Tigers organization, don't even use ERA anymore. They don't even care. They only use stats like FIP and XFIP in Sierra because that is what pitchers actually can control. And his FIP ERA, his FIP was 3.32 the year that he had a 4.74 ERA. His career FIP is 3.89. I promise this dude is good. And it's really frustrating to me as someone who really vocalized how much they liked the signing to have to try and break down this season of all seasons because I think it's impossible. We'll talk about his future with the team more and talk about starting pitchers in general, just where he fits in going forward, even though we've kind of made that abundantly clear right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome back here. Segment 3, third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Okay, so Erod, I think we've uncovered pretty much everything we can talk about with him and the type of pitcher he is. He's when he's on, he is a really good barrel misser. And I still wholeheartedly believe that that's in there. There is some stuff to take out of this season. The cutter graded out pretty well. That's been his really good pitch historically of missing barrels, right? And his chase rate this season was like weirdly pretty solid. Above 50% of that one, 56 percentile in chase rate. One of the better trying to get you to chase out of the strike zone players in the game. Now, you're not going to miss the bat, but if you get him to chase, weak contact, ground balls, we know the drill. And I think it's so valuable having the ability to get a ground ball whenever you want. He had a season where like he had a darn near 50% ground ball percentage. Like, I mean, he like, it's very frustrating. This is a very frustrating episode for me because I don't want to make it completely sound like this is some like, oh, you're going to find out this year that he has like a 2.4 ERA and is striking out everybody and whatnot. But like when you accept him for the type of pitcher he is and accept him for the actual contract we gave him, like this should be a great signing. It should. Again, Comerica Park is the definition of a huge pitcher's park, and this is a pitch to weak contact guy. This should be the prototype that for a successful pitcher in Comerica Park. A lot of playoff experience, a lot of good, like solid playoff performances. Like he should be. And again, I'm not trying to come on here and say that, oh, this is a guaranteed, like he's going to be fantastic. No, again, every free agent you bring in has the chance to not live up to expectations. But I still think it's absolutely ridiculous to look at 91 innings this year and all of the off the field stuff that he was dealing with and just go, there is no chance that this dude any chance of being solid for this team over the next 4 years when he's under contract. I still like him a lot, and I think he still fits the Scott Harris philosophy. Not going to get those strike swinging miss style, but if he gets the walk rate down to what we're somewhat used to in his career and um, walk a little bit less. It was only a little higher than what we're used to league career wise for Erod. But if he can just lower those walk numbers back to his career numbers and pound the strike zone and whatnot, I still think that this dude can be a valuable pitcher for this team. He's going to be frustrating at times. Absolutely. I'm not telling you that's not coming because he's a pitch to contact guy and pitch to contact pitchers don't. But this is not like I'm not selling you Michael Pineda. I'm not selling you Jose Urena. Like when those guys came in and we were like, oh, they're pitch to contact. Maybe they won't have a 5 ERA this year. Like, no. This dude is elite at it. Again, top 5% in baseball at it. Okay. I already know that I'm going to get a lot of angry people. It's impossible to talk about his season without talking about him falling off the face of the planet there. I hope he got everything that he was dealing with dealt with. I hope that he's in a better state of mind. I really, truly do look forward to the season that he is going to have for the Detroit Tigers in 2023. Letter grade incomplete. Not doing it. It's impossible. If you made me give, I'd give it like a C, I guess. It's just like middle of the road. I don't really know. Sure, you showed up when you eventually showed up and were like pretty average when you were here. Had a couple of really good starts where you looked around and went, "This is why we brought this dude in," and then a couple of starts where you went, "Okay, you clearly don't have it." Velocity was all over the place from a start to start basis between the injury and then not pitching for 3 months. I mean, very hard to grade. As far as his future on the team, he will certainly be back. This is the highest grade I'll probably give so far. This is like an 85. Yeah, 85. We'll give Iran an 85. I'll leave a 15% chance at Scott Harris just going supernova and trading literally everybody on the major league roster. But I really think that he can still accomplish a lot of really cool things in Old English D. Okay. 85%. Yeah, I like that. 85%. 85%. I think that's all I got. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and his unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories from around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. All right. I think that is it. I think we're done. I know he's a controversial player just because of the contract and because of I mean, he was an Avila signing. Any Avila signings are going to be inherently a little more controversial, but I still I still have faith in him, and I still am very excited for what he can bring this team going forward. I think you go out if we're talking about the future. That's the other thing I want to say. The future of the starting rotation. That is the last point I wanted to make. Tarek Skubal should be penciled in as one of your best 2 starting pitchers. It's still the debate between we haven't seen enough innings out of Skubal yet, but B, just a debate within the fan base as well, just on what we've seen, on whether Skubal can be a bona fide ace for this team. Like, is Tarek Skubal's ceiling really an ace of a World Series winning team, of a playoff, like deep playoff contending team? Yet to be seen, but certainly a debate to have when we have more time and we're not dedicating an episode to Eduardo Rodriguez. But that's certainly a debate. But I do think you can comfortably pencil him in as a top two, right? If he's not an ace, I genuinely believe that he's a really solid two for a deep playoff team or a championship contending team going forward, or at least that's his ceiling. Um, and I think that Erod should just be slated right below wherever Scooble is going forward. I think that that's a good move. Scooble, if he can stay healthy and continue getting better, he'll get more money than what Erod got you. So, like contract wise, it's going to work out in that regard, and what you're expecting out of everybody based on what you're paying them. I still think that there is a very clear path to this being a really effective rotation with Erod in it. So I think probably if we are winning a championship 3, 4, 5 years from now, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying hypothetically, just bear with me. If we're playing in the World Series, our rotation is in the top two. It's player X and Tarek Skubal, and 3 is Erod. And I think that that's a good team. And it's been proven because he's made the playoff 3 times with legitimate starting pitching roles for the Boston Red Sox. He's literally done it thrice. So can't really say, oh, I don't see it. Well, Boston Red Sox have been a juggernaut for the last 3 years of Erod's tenure with them. And he had pretty decently prominent roles within them. So, all right, that is all I got for real this time. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. And I will catch y'all on Monday, baby. Go Tigers.